I have been looking at some of the opinions that have been presented about a number of events that have occurred predominantly in the USA, um, but I suppose they may well have occurred worldwide as well. My my problem has been that people have asked questions about the events which have seemed to be perfectly reasonable questions over aspects of the events which appeared on face value to be very strange. When those questions were asked, the reaction from many was to attack and alienate the questioner. Now, the problem with that, of course, excuse me, is that that sort of takes away your rights to some degree. Uh, it struck me that their right to just question was under attack. Their right to have worries, concerns, and and actually voice those was also under attack. I I feel that when so many questions are raised over certain events, when so many people have presented the fact that they are very uncomfortable with some of the reports about the events, and they've come under attack, that makes me very uncomfortable. Um, I suppose what I'm saying is why. No, shorten that. There can't normally. There can't normally be um, smoke without a fire. So what is going on? Uh, I'm no expert, but in relation to some of these events, some of the answers have been presented, um, theoretical answers to some of the questions, um, but some of those theoretical answers have actually raised even bigger questions. Uh, and it's become quite worrying because nobody is really getting to the bottom of the problem. The problem just always seems to be there because the answers are not forthcoming. And yet, experts in fields relative to the events have come forward with their hypotheses and presented very, very strong arguments to suggest that the events themselves were deeply questionable. Now, again, I am not individually a conspiracy theorist, but what I am, and what I will always be, is a seeker of truth. And it bothers me that some truths appear to be hidden. And when some questions are asked, then it appears that some of the questioners appear to get hidden as well. Um, it is something that is clearly dangerous, and it's clearly dangerous to, for example, the US government, because if so many experts have come up with theories as to what they believe to be the case, and if they are not being disproven, and yet they are disproving what is being sold as reality, then I get to the point where, personally, I don't trust the authorities. And I have reached that point. I know I don't live there. I'm in the UK, and we're talking specifically at this moment in time about events within the United States. So I don't have to trust or not trust, because they're not my government, but they are a very, very strong force, and I believe they are a world-shaping government, and it is my belief that we tend to follow, to some degree, in the steps that America make. It might not necessarily always be a good thing, because I feel that should they not actually come clean to the public, if they continue on the path that they're going, or appear to be going, it's my contention that eventually people will be fed up with asking the questions and be seeking action. The problem there is that I think that the government are actually preparing for that situation. I think that the government are actually warming up and getting ready for the end of questions and the beginning of actions. Because in a lot of US states where it has been a perfectly normal event to find people either open carrying weapons or concealed carrying weapons. Now, just very briefly about that, I'm not sure that when living in a township or town, a city, there is a need to carry a rifle of any sort whatsoever. My personal belief is that they are only really for the countryside and the protection of yourself against wild animals. Pistols, absolutely. Either way, completely out in the open or undercover. Either way, people should be allowed to carry arms in that respect. But that's being eroded, and I believe it's being eroded simply because the government are starting to get very scared about what a nation that is armed may or may not be able to do to end the situation of apparent deception and lies that's going on, or appears to be going on. And there is also the monetary system as well. I think I understand it to some degree. and I think I understand that money in itself just doesn't exist. It is all a form of credit, passed on from one agency to the next, finally down to myself, and I am credited um, from my employer's credits um, with a wage, and the credits that my employer has are credited from everybody around him that my employer is actually buying from or selling to. So it's all a flow of credits, and I, again, the notes that we see are basically promissory notes, credit notes, not money. There is no money. It doesn't exist, and the corporation. It disturbs me very much to start to learn how I, as a corporation, i.e., a person being a corporation, um, can be treated. But it also warms me to know that I, as a human being, have rights that cannot be taken away from me. They're God-given human rights, and they will always be in place, no matter what the states do. It also warms me to know that um, when it comes to the law of the land, um, common law, then that is the first law, the first set of laws on which everything else is based, and that one can live um, under common law, and that's something that I want for myself, to live under common law.